Okay. You.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you to start. Sorry. Hi, everyone. It's a great honor to meet those of you who are the first time joining Root and Branch Project. And it's a great pleasure seeing familiar faces. Eric, Marcella, Brandon, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would like to thank Jonathan for scheduling these Zoom meetings. It's a great honor to work with him that God connected us a few years ago for this amazing project. And I know that a few of you know about the project and how it started, but I'm going to share briefly for those of you who don't know much about Root and Branch, how it started. It was in 2023 when I traveled to Israel for the first time. And for those of you who know my story or read my books, I wrote 2 books, Captive in Iran, A Love Journey with God, especially my second book, A Love Journey with God. I shared lots of dreams and visions that how God communicated to me through my dreams at different times. And for traveling to Israel, it was a big dream. And it started with a dream. And the dream was about the massacre on October 7th, which I didn't know at the time I got that dream. God just showed me the massacre. And when I woke up, I asked my friends to pray. I started praying for Israel because Israel was so precious to me since I became a Christian in 1999 and gave my heart to Jesus. I went through many hardships. For those of you who don't know me, I was in prison in 2009. For 9 months, I witnessed the brutality of the Islamic regime firsthand in my life. And since I moved to the United States in 2011, I never stopped advocating for persecuted Christians. But as I mentioned, in 2023, it was 9 months before October 7th that God gave me a dream about Israel for the first time, which I was started thinking about that, why. And then God led me to travel to Israel. And later, when October 7th happened, I noticed why God took me there. And in my first trip, I was thinking, finally, because for many years I was praying to visit the Holy Land, the land of my Savior. Finally, God allowed me to visit the land of my Savior. And I was thinking the purpose is just visiting the biblical places. But I didn't know God has a bigger plan for me and purpose for sending me to Israel. And in my first trip, I always say that God allowed me, while I was enjoying visiting the Holy Land, He allowed me to see the brutality against Jewish people. And it was in that trip that Jonathan's neighbor were murdered, a beautiful mom and his daughters. And there was a big funeral. I never forget that. And another time that we were driving, a Jew was stabbed right in front of our car. And a lot of other things. And Jonathan took me to Yad Vashem Museum that I never forget, that experience visiting and seeing all those evidences that how brutally Nazi people killed Jewish people during Holocaust. And 9 months after that, October 7th happened, which I noticed, wow, there is a reason that God took me there. And in my second trip, Jonathan kindly took me to the Gaza borders, and I visited a lot of those communities that were devastated by Hamas terrorists. I visited the family members of the hostages. I sat with them and had a conversation with them about how we can help them as Christians. And one person told me, when I asked, what do you need? He said, we need love. And I was thinking about what he said, that how we as Christians can show our love to our Jewish brothers and sisters. And it was there that God gave me a vision for Root and Branch by seeing lots of olive trees all around Israel. I started asking tons of questions from Jonathan each time we had a conversation, and I suggested that idea through harvesting olives, and that we Christians to travel to Israel harvesting olives and to support Israel and the projects in Israel. And then we started this amazing project, which is a joint project of our nonprofits, newpersia.org and Genesis 123 Foundation. And this is the third year that we are inviting Christians to come to Israel to harvest olives. I see that a lot of Christians travel to Israel through different tour companies, and this is amazing. I believe every single Christians need at least once to travel to Israel and to witness to see those places that Jesus walked and did lots of miracles. But beside that, what is more important, I think Jesus doesn't want us just to travel and to visit the places and say goodbye. He wants us to be engaged and to do something. And that's my purpose through Root and Branch, which we come up with details, and Jonathan came up with the verses 11:18, Romans 11:18, that remind us as Christians that we are grafted into the covenant that God made with his chosen people, and remind us as Christians not to be arrogant and always remember that. And especially these days, before I joined this Zoom meeting, one of our Root and Branch members that joined us last year, she asked if I am going to share about Iran. And I said, no, the main purpose is talking about Root and Branch, how it started and the details of the trip, and also to give you time to ask your questions. But honestly, I think this is related to Iran as well. Because if you follow the news, you can see what's going on in Iran as well. Beside, October 7th, it's January 8th and 9th that the Islamic Republic regime massacred tens of thousands of Iranian people. And every day when I read the news, it's about execution of innocent people, which remind me, my first-hand experience of my cellmates, my best friend, Shirin Alamhouli, who was executed in prison, and they never gave her body back to the family. And also recently I saw a horrible news about tons of hairs of women that the Islamic regime exported. And in Armenia, they discovered that. And they usually not only sexually abuse women, they arrest them, they kill them, they sell their body organs. I mentioned that many times. And finally, we have one evidence that tons of hairs of these women, especially after January 8th and 9th, they started exporting, trafficking, actually, these hairs of women. This is very heartbreaking. And this is not, for so many years, I tried to be the voice of my people. But since I moved to Israel, I mentioned that God wanted me not also to be the voice of my people, persecuted Christians, but also to be the voice for Israeli people, and to invite Christians to be united. And through this amazing project, we try to not only to engage with the land, with Jewish people, but also we wanted to do something, especially these days when I read the news, when I see what's happening in the world. And you know that the Islamic Republic regime is behind all these terrorist actions through their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, everywhere. And I was reading in European countries, they have started funding and recruiting people, criminals in those countries to do terror attacks in Western countries. So this is a very important timing for us as Christians to do something. And I notice also regarding the churches as well that they are trying to create division among Jews and Christians by different theologies like replacement theologies and different things that I think it's Muslims, radical Muslims really like these ideas and try to fund and promote it as much as they can because they know that we are united, and by creating division between Jews and Christians, that's a tactic. And they ruled in Iran for more than 47 years by the same tactic, creating division. And they wanted to separate us. And we need to understand that root and branches cannot survive without each other. And as Christians, we have a responsibility to stand up, to do whatever we can. We are not supposed to change the whole world, but small things are matter. For those who are joining this amazing project that gives you an opportunity not only to visit the Holy Land, but also to be connected with the land, to support your Jewish brothers and sisters, and to make this unity stronger, to show to the world that we are united. And that's why Jonathan and I, we started this project in 2 years ago, and still every year we are continue doing that, and we are having conferences, root and branch conferences at different states of America to invite Christians and Jews to talk about it. I am just one example of millions of Iranian people who are suffering under this brutal, evil regime. And I'm sharing my story just not to have a sympathy for myself, but also to bring awareness for Western people to understand the nature of this evil regime and why it's important at this critical times that the enemy tries to destroy this unity and tries to infiltrate in Western countries' system, in America's system. That's more important for us to understand the purpose of this unity. And yeah, I just would like to thank each one of you for joining us. And I let Jonathan to speak and other people who joined us in the 2 last years to share their experiences with us. And I'm sure you're going to have amazing experience. I am sure those who joined us, they can share their experiences as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marzi. So you always get to start out on these and say how wonderful our partnership is, but I just have to amplify that. And that does go to the question about speaking about what's going on in Iran, because our partnership, me as an American-born Orthodox Israeli Jew, and you, an Iranian-born American Christian, and how we're working together. And yes, the Root and Branch program, and you'll hear it from us. I truly believe that in the 40 years of my career, this is, I say it modestly, it's one of the top three projects that I've ever had the privilege of, but I only say that because I want to be honest. Truth is, it's really probably the most significant. It's most significant because of our friendship and partnership. It's most significant because it's relational. It's the first time anyone's ever done this, an olive harvest pilgrimage in the land. And someone asked me the other day, well, why not wine? And I said, other people are doing it. No one's ever done this. And olives are so symbolic, of course, as Marzi mentioned in Romans 11, in terms of the relationship between Jews and Christians. And Paul said that really well, and I speak as an Orthodox Jew. I also, and for those of you who are getting to meet Marzi now for the first time, I know you're going to take away what I always take away from her is the inspiration of the program, but also just being around in her presence. So that's another good reason to join us. I want to speak a little bit about the technical side since I live here, and since hopefully you'll all be joining us in October. Um, it's maybe a month ago now. I spent 2 days up in the Galilee. I live just south of Jerusalem, and I went up to the Galilee. It's about a 3 hour car ride for me. So I decided I would be productive and stay over in the hotel that we've chosen to be our central base for the entire program. And that way I got to go out and see the different national parks and cities where we already have the invitation to do most of the harvesting. Before we started recording, I think, and before some of you joined, Bob, who's here from North Carolina, and asked me a question because I mentioned being from New Jersey and growing up in Princeton. And I'm so excited, even though I don't live in America, to be celebrating 250 years because I remembered 50 years ago, I'm certainly aging myself, celebrating the 200th anniversary and doing so. One of the things that'll always stick with me was an actual reenactment of the Battle of Princeton, where I grew up. And what's so interesting, and I haven't been to by far all of the national parks in America or in most other countries, our national parks, where we're going to be picking olives, are not national parks because of their beauty, are not national parks because of the wildlife, or because someone took a mountain and carved the faces of four American presidents into it. Our national parks are by and large biblical. And so when you come here, and those of you, Eric and Marcella and Peggy with us, who can speak about it, we harvested olives in really significant places. And I think, Rebecca, we were doing when we were doing the podcast that I had you on recently promoting your book, I was speaking enthusiastically about this and how one of those, and everyone's been there. Everyone who's been on our trip in the last 2 years has been to this site where last year there weren't olives, but we picked olives the first year, three, 50 yards from a 3,500-year-old Canaanite gate. I mean, this is remarkable. And the places that you're going to be this fall are maybe more modern, but in fact more significant, I think. And I think especially for Christians, one of them is called Sipori. I think the Greek, which you may be familiar with, is Sepphoris. It was the urban area in central Galilee where Jesus and Joseph worked. If they were in, I use the modern term, if they were in construction. I've read a book that it's called My Brother's Keeper. It's a novel about the family of Jesus. Beautiful. It depicts that Jesus and his family would be going back and forth there to do building, and it was largely a Roman city. Especially after the Romans slaughtered all the Jews for whatever reason they did, and whatever, I don't remember the historical reasons, but we're going to be there. We're going to be picking olives there. And when Marzi and I had an opportunity to visit with our partner from the Israel Nature and Parks Authority, he used a beautiful metaphor, which is probably true. He said if Jesus was going to visit his grandparents, this is where he would have come. So it's very personal. And then there's another place called the park is called Ein Harod, but it's where Gideon's pool is, as in where Gideon selected his warriors to go to battle. And there's a third park, and it's beautiful. And we're going to, as we always do, and Marzi alluded to it, we're going to have opportunities for you to connect with Israelis. It's good, and I agree with what Marzi said. Everyone should come here. All Christians should come here. But frankly, it's better, it's at a higher level if you get to know us, if you get to interact with us. And so we do that, and that's an essential piece of the program. It's not simply getting on and off a bus all day. In fact, we do have 2 full days of touring in the Galilee. We invite anyone who wants to extend. We probably will not be going to Jerusalem this time, so anyone who wants to extend by a few days can do that. We'll talk about it. Um, but we're going to be based in one place, so we don't have to move our things, and also because our bus is going to be filled with our olive harvest equipment, and we're going to go out early in the morning, not super early. We're not too brutal about that, and we'll have a solid, meaningful days, but also meaningful days of engagement. And the same way we did the first 2 years by going into communities and meeting with people along the Gaza border that were impacted by the war there from October 7th of 2023. We will have those opportunities in the north. Probably we will not get right up to the Lebanese border, but we'll wait and see. And you're going to have tourists as well as firsthand experiences. Technically, so I don't forget, I would want to encourage everybody. I put the link to our website where you can already register. You can already put your deposit. The one thing, by way of full disclosure, we don't yet have the dates, the complete dates from the hotel by when we need to pay them, but your deposit now to save your spot is fully refundable. So I encourage people to make a deposit, use the link that I put in the chat. We can also send it to you by email afterward. The trip, when we put it together, it's just a little bit more expensive than it was previously. It's $2,840 per person based on double occupancy. That means two people sharing a room. It includes most days full board meaning three meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It includes the touring. It includes all of the equipment that you're going to need. It includes the swag that you're going to get, shirts and hats and what did we have last year? Something else. I think I don't remember. You're going to get to take home some of the oil that we press ourselves that we bring to press ourselves. Um, it's a very very full program, and I'm happy specifically that you're getting, except for the two touring days when you're going to do lunch on your own. I think every other day you're getting three meals, so you don't even have to think about it. It works out very very well. Um, Marzi, I feel like I'm forgetting something technical that I should be saying. Is there something that think that I forgot, or should we just jump into what other people, maybe Eric, Peggy, and or Marcella want to say something, and then we can jump into questions?
I think it's better jumping to questions, and if we remember, we can share.
Okay, great. Um, maybe before questions, just quickly, Marcella. Last year was Eric. You were with us for 2 years, 2 years in a row. Why? What was so significant?
Initially, my first time to Israel was in spring of 2023, and just on a tourist trip. And as expected, it was a life-changing experience. I'd read about those stories all my life, and so to actually go and see and touch that was amazing. Kind of an unexpected thing, though, when I came back to the U.S., I really felt a family kind of connection. With the people in Israel. And so that's one reason I just really, ever since then, wanted to go back. About 6 months later is when the war started. And so, just like anyone you love, family, friends, when they're in trouble, you want to go and be with them, help them, do whatever you can. And so then I really wanted to go back, and quite honestly didn't think that opportunity would open. It's not easy to get into a country that's at war. Um, but sure enough, that opportunity opened. So that's what really initially attracted me to this program, was just
Yeah.
the opportunity to get back to Israel during the time of war, and just do whatever I could.
And you were connected by our friends who also joined us on the first year, the Stewarts, family of eight from Alaska, from their little ones who were in elementary school age to their teenagers. That was remarkable. You mentioned the war thing, Eric. We're still not at peace, and I don't know that we're ever going to be at peace until the thing that we as Jews and Christians are all praying for. For sure, that's going to be a question that comes up, and we'll address it. But what was your feeling here those 2 years while we were in war and next to the Gaza border all the time?
Well, I mean, personally, again, it's not like I didn't expect that. I know I knew I wasn't going to be, uncomfortable with that. but I was kind of interested to see everyone else's reaction. And I think from what I saw of our group and what I've heard of so many other people who've been to Israel, when it's not exactly a time of peace, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, well, I didn't feel safe. Which is just kind of weird because in so many other countries, I mean, Israel's not the only one at war. You just don't really hear that. There's always just kind of a peace and a comfort, even when it's a time of war, which is just kind of miraculous.
Marcel, I want to come to you in a moment because I want to do it in chronological order. Peggy, you and Tom wanted to come that first year, but that didn't happen. So you were with us last year. What were the highlights for you?
I just want to make sure you see Tom. He just got home.
Oh, good. Hey, Tom.
Um, the highlights, for me, I think it was seeing, we had done the tour, the Holy Land tour, which is great, but to see sort of the real people of Israel and get to meet and go places we would have never gone in the South, even though I love the North and I want to go so bad this year. I just don't think we have other stuff. How about you?
No, it was great. The whole trip was great. It's hard to pick out one moment.
Okay.
I think seeing the olive oil coming out of the press was pretty spectacular.
Tom was the commander of our 5 meter long rake, and he was the one in charge of getting the tops of the trees. This year, by the way, this year I have to buy a bunch more of those because the trees all of them are really high up. So we're not going to replace you, Tom. We're just going to replicate you. But we're excited for that. Marcella, you joined relatively late last year.
Yeah.
You were the last one. What was your highlight?
Um, I enjoyed everything. One thing that I particularly enjoyed was the first night when we were having a meal. You said that we were family. And I enjoyed all the meals, all the breakfasts and the evening meals and the conversations we had, and the people that you introduced us to, that different people who have a heart for Israel, just all different people that brought something that just was so rich. It was so rich to me. And I just have a connection to Israel. My mom always loved Jewish people and Israel, and so for me, it's something very close to my heart. And even though my return to England was very hard because I had some very negative reactions to the few people I told. I was afraid to tell people. The few people I did tell, among them, I had some very strong reactions, and it was difficult. But I still would like to go back, and I've been delighted that in my own work in this year, I've had a Jewish lady come to my community cafe, and a couple of weeks ago, she invited me to her synagogue, which I was so delighted. It was for a quiz game, but I was just delighted to step in, and because I just never knew how I would ever be able to get into it, because you have to be invited. I actually invited myself. I actually said, "Can I come to the quiz?" I don't know if I'll be able to come this year. I would love to. Last year, my trip was a bit challenged by the fact that my suitcase didn't arrive for the first 6 days. So that was an added challenge. I never felt unsafe. I never felt unsafe. I just felt I missed clothes, but I enjoyed all of it. I enjoyed when we went to the children's center. I enjoyed when we had the meal with the soldiers and their wives. Literally all of it, and I enjoyed picking the olives. That's the whole of it. And last week I had a friend I made on the trip come and visit me from Paris.
Oh, yeah, right.
So that we could go to the Nova Festival exhibition that's on show in London. And even though we don't know each other super well, it was such a blessed time. Just we just had 24 hours that were just such a blessing to us. because I have to say to to be in favor of Jewish people and Israel at this time in England is actually pretty tough. You don't know who to say it to, and you're careful. I'm very careful because in my work, I actually work with a lot of Muslim people, and I share the love of God with them. I just share the love of God with them. But yeah, so for me, it was a blessing to be able to be with someone who loves Israel and to be able to go to the festival exhibition and to hear some testimonies. And yeah, so I hope I can come again, if
Thank
not
you.
this year, another year. But I definitely, I just felt a connection
Yeah. But
to
it
Israel.
is like you said, we become a family on these trips
Yeah.
because it's more than just waking
Mm.
up and getting on, having breakfast and getting on and off a bus all day. We're
Yeah.
actually doing something with a purpose and connecting both amongst ourselves, but also with the people who we meet and interact with, and those become priceless.
Yeah.
Maybe right now, we can jump into any questions that any of you have. Please, if you do have questions, just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Anybody.
Hi, I'm Ingrid Marcella, and I met at a March for Life talk in London, and we've sort of remained in touch.
Mm.
Anyway, she invited me to this because she knows I've been wanting to go to Israel for a while now, and I haven't quite made it yet for one reason or another. But I love olives, and it seemed. I guess my question is, you talk about being on the Gaza border and being up north and stuff. And of course, this is where, there's quite intense. I mean, I follow everything that's going on in Israel because I feel very close to it and what's going on. And is that safe?
The honest look, Eric addressed it. He didn't feel unsafe at all. We live here. I'll tell you right now, I have one son in America going to a World Cup game tomorrow in Philadelphia. My oldest son and daughter-in-law and grandson are in Thailand right now because he needs a break before he
Oh,
goes back into reserve duty in the summer. Um, I feel more safe with them here than them overseas right now. I will tell you this, that there's nothing that we did. And in fact, when with Marcella, we even discussed the issue last year of her own insurance not covering getting within X distance of the Gaza border, and we didn't. There was going to be one possibility that we were going to do a barbecue on the Gaza border with soldiers on their base. That didn't happen. But we're not going to go and do things that are stupid. Um, I often tell people, and I believe it, it's not rhetoric, that if you don't follow the news and just come to Israel, you see a country operating that's perfectly normal. You don't know that tens or hundreds of thousands of reservists are currently away from their homes. You don't know that there are still skirmishes in Gaza or more severe things in Lebanon. Uh, the threat from Iran, according to the news that I just read before coming on here when Shabbat ended, is that maybe for the short term there's going to be a truce, a ceasefire, some kind of agreement. All of this is to say, at no point it would be dishonest to say at any point something couldn't happen. We're not going to go out of our way to do things to put ourselves in harm's way at all. And one of the factors that we, of course, are considering and have to consider is because right now the the border with Lebanon is the one that's the hottest, although the activity is really taking place across the border in Lebanon, not inside Israel. when I come back from my upcoming trip to the US, I'm intending to go down to the south, to the Gaza border, and check out the status of the olives there, so we can have a plan B if we need to. Uh, but Eric said it, and I can address it more. Eric said it, and I wanted him to say it in his own words, especially that first year when we were harvesting olives in three different communities, three different locations, the furthest of which was 15 kilometers from the Gaza border. We heard mortar shell, we heard artillery firing. Nobody felt unsafe. In fact, I think the opposite. You know that there's action going on to keep us safe. But I don't want to. Yeah, but
I would
we can
like
also.
Jonathan to add
Yes, Marzi,
something.
please.
It's been 4 times that I traveled to Israel. I never felt unsafe. And this is also my fate. I know people keep reading the news and asking this question, but I always believe that our lives is in God's hands. And if it's not the time to leave this world, nothing will happen. Just look at some stories, like the Ukrainian girl. She fled the war in Ukraine and came to America, and she was stopped by someone in the train station. And I was living in Iran for years living with these the most dangerous terrorists, and I was in prison, but God saved my life and I moved to America. So I just wanted to say I live that way, that I always trust God. If God called me to do something, to go anywhere, even though it seems very dangerous through reading the news, I always say yes to Lord. But I understand that everyone is different. But as Jonathan mentioned, during these years that we had the project, we never felt unsafe.
Mhm.
Where we will be in the Galilee is significantly further away from where we were in the south on the Gaza border.
Mhm.
Andrew, you were you going to ask something? You were nodding actively in affirmation of a few comments earlier, but if you have a question, please.
Yes. Just as a matter of interest, do you have a cap on the number of people that you can take on the program?
The practical number is a full bus. So whether that full bus is 40 or I think the biggest bus you can get is about 55,
Hmm.
that would be it. Um, we're just speaking honestly here.
Yeah.
We can go more. We could go to 60 or 70, but I think that this year, and it would be a blessing to have that 70, 80, and our vision eventually is to have tens of buses crossing Israel and harvesting olives over the course of a month, and we will get there. But I think practically this year we probably will cap it at one bus because already then committing to the second bus makes it that much more expensive to
Yes.
fill. So
Sure.
so that's one of the reasons why it's premature to know whether we're going to have 30 or 40 or 50, but that's one of the reasons at least to reserve your spot as soon as possible for everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Yeah,
What
me
about,
again.
oh,
Oh, go on, you.
I was just
Rebecca,
wondering
introduce
about
yourself.
timing. Am I muted?
No,
All
you're
right, hang
not.
on.
Introduce
Uh,
yourself. I know who you are.
I'm Rebecca Berschwinger. I am from upstate New York in a little town called Princetown. And I'm wondering, and by the way, it's nice to meet you all. Timing of booking flights.
Ah, that's a good question. So Marzi and I, a week or 2 weeks ago, had a conversation with a company that we used this past year called Fellowship Travel. They're based in Virginia. They can do global travel. And one of the things that the reason why, and this goes a little bit to Ingrid's question, only a little bit, anyone can ticket and do whatever they want. Our price of 28.40 is the land price. Everyone can get their own ticket and get to Israel however they want. I strongly encourage people to use not just a travel agent, but a travel agent who has influence with the airlines in the event of cancellation, because I don't want you to get stuck. I'm sorry, we don't want you to get stuck. Anytime I say I mean we. We don't want you to get stuck. We don't want a flight being canceled and then having to find a way to get here or getting a refund. And that's why it's so important to have a reliable agent. The other piece, and we had a lengthy conversation about it with the representative from Fellowship Travel, is that we provide it as part of the package transfer from the airport to our location and then transfer back to the airport at the end. That's called a group transfer, meaning everyone comes and arrives together. Last year, and for sure the year before, we had some people arrive a little early, a little late, and most people waited at the airport for an hour or two, or perhaps even more. I don't recall the details. And we did a group transfer with everyone together because some people came from the UK, some people came from different points in the US. We don't want, you might think that you're going to get a better deal and save $100 on a flight, where if in fact you arrive at a time that we're not doing a group transfer, then you're going to end up paying at least that amount of money to have a private transfer for yourself. So we will encourage you. We have no stake in that other than the most efficient, smoothest professional experience that you have getting here. And to the point about Ingrid asking if it's safe, it's hard to know that we will be in active war, not in active war. I say we've been in war for 78 years. Um, Flights cancel, and we don't want that to be an impediment. That doesn't make it unsafe. It just means that they're not prepared to fly here for whatever reasons. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Ingrid, you had another question?
Yeah, it's about the actual olive picking. How strong do you need to be? I've never picked olives. I've no idea what's involved. Be quite good to know what one is expected to do.
So do look at the website, the link for
Okay.
rootandbranchisrael.com. The videos and pictures will show, and I alluded to Tom being the in charge of the height. The first year, this is a learning thing also. 3 years ago, Marzi and I had never picked olives or made oil or done any of what we're doing. And so what we do, I actually, no, I don't have a way of showing a picture of it right now, but if you go to the site, you'll see we have various length poles, 1.5 meters up to 5 meters, to which we attach a plastic rake head, and we simply rake the tops of the trees, the branches, branch by branch, and shake them. Occasionally, someone like Eric and others climb into the trees to get the better angle. That's not requirement, but it's not. I don't know. Maybe Eric and Marcella and Peggy and Tom, since you've all done it, can speak to this. It's not physically difficult work. It uses different muscles in different ways because it's not a normal thing in any of our lives to be looking straight up and harvesting, and you position your legs just naturally in such a way. It's not physically um, demanding, I don't believe. Um, and it's not like the Jewish people who were forced to build pyramids in Egypt, and we had a quota of how many bricks we had to make in a day. You're gonna pick as many as you're able to do, and you're gonna sit in the shade and have a sip of water or Coke or iced tea when you need to take a break. Eric, Marcella, Peggy, Tom, you want to add anything about the physical nature of picking?
Sure, I will. I mean, I've been there both years, and I would say it's not like you're asked to do a certain amount. There's no pressure or anything. some of us, like myself, I mean, I love doing hard physical work, and so that's what I'll do. It's not because Jonathan or Marzi asked me to do that. It's just what I enjoy do. Other people, um, uh, just don't, and that's perfectly fine. There's not any kind of pressure. You do what you're comfortable doing, and that's all we ask.
By the way, Eric, as you're speaking, the oldest couple who've participated with us so far are planning on coming back. And I think if we analyze it fairly, they were some of the most active olive pickers last year, right? Everyone's nodding. Yeah, they were.
Tim and Esther.
And I
Yep.
took a break
Nice.
and chatted with a friend. Jonathan sometimes invites friends, and I'm still chatting with Adva today.
Oh,
She's
very
coming here.
nice.
We're going to meet up in October.
Okay, great.
I've got a
Okay.
question.
Jonathan, Andrew have a question.
Please.
Yes, Jonathan. So, just with regard to travel and flights, and Marcella will possibly have an answer here. Do you have any particular carrier from the UK, or do we use the likes of El Al or any other particular agent?
So the agent that we have no stake in this other than your efficiency. We're encouraging people to use fellowship travel because they also know when those group flights are. And one of the questions, and actually, Marzi, I don't think we answered the woman. She wants to know where, but looking, for instance, for North America, El Al has flights from Boston, New York, two locations in New York, Miami, Los Angeles, and will be San Francisco. So six different jumping off points, and we want to find the flights that come in more or less at the same time. I typically fly United. I have 1 million miles on United. I have almost as high status, but I've also adopted to fly El Al now because the truth is it's the most reliable in this unknown situation. The prices are a little bit high. I'm not happy about that. What I would, if I were you, Andrew, or Ingrid or Marcella coming from the UK, I would choose to use fellowship travel, and I would say, okay, what's the time that we're aiming to get everyone in to Tel Aviv, and what are the El Al flights that book? British Air, for instance, Wizz Air is starting again. I don't know if they where they fly, maybe Luton, but I don't know where else they fly. But they cancel somewhat frequently. British has pushed off flights for quite a while. I'm not sure what other airlines fly between different cities in the UK on a quote unquote normal basis. And for that reason, I would recommend El Al, even though my preferred airline is United.
Okay, so even though fellowship travel is based in USA, we can still work through them.
They're a global agency. They
A
can they
globe.
can fly you from Central Africa or Fiji Island to
Okay.
come to Israel. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And do you have any criteria regarding health? For example, way back in 2020, I had a heart attack. I've no problems. I'm as fit as a fiddle. So I am. And obviously, I have health insurance. But do you have any criteria or any concerns? Sorry, you and Marcia. So,
Right.
Mm.
Um, Look, first of all, we don't want anyone to get hurt. I still have a knee injury from the first time. Something I did. I don't know. Uh, that can happen. That's the first thing. When you join us, Andrew, we want you to be safe and healthy and comfortable and happy. Maybe not in that order, but or maybe yes in that order. Uh, and so we don't want anyone to exert themselves more than they are comfortable to do. And I think Marzi and I are caring and attentive enough that if we say, "Hey, Andrew, you're looking a little pale, maybe you should sit down." But because we become a family, you're going to have a busload of other people who are also going to tell you that. Um, and we've had other people, and I believe I don't want to say who, but another person who's planning on joining us in the fall who will by definition become the oldest participant in Root and Branch ever and doesn't belong doing a whole lot of physical activity. So we won't let her do a lot of physical activity, but she will be part of it. And yeah,
No, I personally, I'm not concerned because as I say, I'm as fit as a fiddle, as they say here. But it's just if, as organizers, you had any criteria or concerns, but I'm not worried.
then we're not worried.
I also wanted to add that beside Jonathan mentioned, we all need to take care of our health and be careful in whatever we do. But I strongly believe that because it's involvement of many physical activities, it's very healthy for our health. And I think some of you can share, like, I remember Peggy and Tom, especially when you joined us at the beginning, maybe, it seems a little awkward to some people, but at the end, everyone wanted to do more. And we all felt that how healthy is that by doing these activities. And once I remember we made it a fun and I started, counting and together that in 10 minutes, for example, harvesting one trays, and we turn it to a gym activity, just counting and practicing that. It's very healthy, I think. Beside whatever else we do, as much as we are active, we are more healthy.
Hats, sunscreen, hydration. We're out and it's hot, and those are things that we will emphasize as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Exactly how hot is it at that time of year?
October's a funny month. October can be hot and in the and certainly in the 80s and with an occasional bump up a little bit more. But October is also it's right after the holidays that we have, and that's the beginning of the rainy season, and we could be blessed by being rained on that was our first year, right? We got rained on a couple of times. Last year we harvested, I think it was a little hotter last year where we were. Galilee's hotter. Galilee will be warmer. That's why the olives there are that much more ripe than where I live, for instance, near Jerusalem. But you can expect 80s. Galilee is humid-ish, not this down by the Sea of Galilee where you'll certainly go. It's a little bit more humid. That's below sea level, but we're going to be above sea level in mountainous areas that are breezy. And I'll tell you a little secret. A little secret. Two of the three places that we're harvesting have fresh water pools. They are gorgeous, and we will also be able to dip into the water and refresh ourselves. It's going to be really special.
Jonathan, what's
Yes.
this time frame? I mean, not the time frame, but the number of days for that. A week, is it? Or
It's 10 days.
10
Beginning
days?
arrival is Sunday, the 18th of October, and departure will be Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday, the 27th of October. I will point out, since the dates came up, we're going to be here. Ingrid, you asked about safety, which alludes to war. It's going to be a very exciting time because October 27th is the date that's slated to be our national election. So we might not have battle from Lebanon or Gaza or the Islamic Republic, but we will have lots of heated political battles that are taking place here at that point. And for anyone who wants to, if I'm allowed to, for anyone who wants to join me, it's coincidental that it ends that day. If you're staying on, I'll probably finish the day with you, and then you have to physically be in your home district to vote. I'll invite you all to come and vote with me. I mean, not vote yourselves, but participate in the democratic process here in Israel. Yeah. But those are the
Amazing.
dates.
Thank you.
Other questions? Wait, Marlene, you're muted.
With the
One second, Eric. Let's let Marlene unmute. No, you're still muted. There's a little icon on your phone. I don't know where to tell you to look. Where's the mute button? Maybe hold on, if I ask you to unmute, maybe you'll see something pop
No,
up on your
I've got
screen.
it.
There it
I
is.
got it.
Good.
So what time do you want our flights to arrive so that we can make that group transit?
I believe we're going to be looking at afternoon arrivals. So
Okay.
um, that would mean departure. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But again, that's why it's important to use fellowship. And we want you to know something. We wouldn't be recommending fellowship if we didn't think that they do a good job and will service you properly. But one of the criticisms that we had of them this past year is they didn't sufficiently coordinate that, and that wasn't efficient. It meant more work on this end, but it also meant too many people had to spend extra money on their private transfers. So we don't want that. We've made it very clear that we're going to find a group of flight times for arrival. I'm sure most people won't mind if they arrive 2 hours earlier waiting in the airport until we have that departure. But we or someone will be there to greet you, and the transfer will be all together.
Okay. Good,
Eric?
thanks.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so what areas or groups of people will we kind of get to interact with this year? Since I mean the last 2 years we've done it with IDF soldiers, the kids in Sderot. I'm guessing we might not visit them this year, but like what people, what other
Sure.
things like that are we going to be doing other than just olive picking?
So, great question. We will interact with soldiers, and I would say, with every reasonable probability, one of our evenings will be a dinner with soldiers somewhere. We have to figure out where. I think, look, ideally, we would love to have you get on a base and do a barbecue with them. The first year we weren't on a base, but in a really beautiful location. Um, let's see, my son will be out of Lebanon by then, so we can't go visit his unit. But we'll figure that out. There'll be no shortage of opportunities to engage with soldiers. I think the other piece, which we're now beginning to look into, we probably have between the three national parks, if not 100% of the days covered in terms of the harvesting and the number of trees. That'll depend, going to Andrew's earlier question about how many people we have, but we also want to give you the diversity. So part of what I did when I was in the Galilee last month was to drive around to different cities and see, as we know, which cities have streets that have olive trees planted along the roads and have public parks that have olive trees that we can harvest. And now this month, we're going to begin to look for places where we do that. When we do that, that will also give us the opportunity to interact with people who've been impacted by the war. Families of reservists. Eric, you mentioned specifically kids. The kids, for those who haven't been with us the last 2 years, are kids who are classified as at risk. I don't know, and that's a classification from the social services department here in Israel. We have had we as Genesis 123 Foundation, a long relationship with this group, and every year we've gone to visit them, to comfort them, to bring them toys, bring them some financial donations, and we'll continue to do that. But as Eric said, they're in Sderot, which is in the south. We will find a similar kind of experience in the north. Those of you one of the things that we did the last 2 years, I believe, is we encourage people to visit, to bring toys and games for the children that you can personally deliver to them. We will do that. There is two major national hospitals in the northern part of the country where we will be. It's very possible we may go visit soldiers who are doing rehabilitation. And for those of you, for instance, remember last year people brought Lego sets. Those are very, very appreciated by the soldiers, specifically those going through rehabilitation. We will we the inquiries that we have going out to the larger cities in the Galilee right now is also to be able to find a place or places with which we can have long-term relationships. So that will also mean having a visit with the mayor or deputy mayor and speakers from the communities, so you get a sense of what it's like, what it's been like the last 3 years, living frequently inside bomb shelters and having their lives disrupted. But all of that, Eric, all of that.
Okay. And what hotel are we going to be staying in?
It's Kibbutz Lavi. Any other questions?
Yes, please, Jonathan. It's
Please.
just it's something I keep forgetting about. My passport, because I worked in Iran, although it was 2010 to 2012. Obviously, I've got visa and stamps from Iran. Uh, would that be a problem coming in through passport control? Should I notify anyone in advance of that? It was quite humorous, really, because when I was going to the States, um, uh, I had to go to the U.S. Embassy here in London. I was interviewed for 3 hours, so I
Oh,
was, yeah.
Look, that anyone can be subject to questioning, modest questioning to something a little bit more. Marzi, I'm not going to tell your story from your first trip, but I'm always that always makes me smile, and also how you kind of how it stopped. So Andrew, yes, if they look in your passport, you both on the way in and possibly on the way out might be somebody who they want to ask a few more questions of. But that can happen anywhere. I think I think I told the story recently of a woman from Ireland. This is the anniversary of it came up. An Irish woman going back into the 1980s who became pregnant by a Palestinian Arab man, and and he wanted her to come here to meet his family, and he said he was going to fly through Jordan because flying through Tel Aviv was more complicated, and she should fly to Israel on El Al, and at whatever airport they were asking her questions she arrived at, they were asking her questions there in the UK, and she was interrogated. She was innocent as far as she knew until she found out, or they found out, that her fiance, whose baby she was carrying, put a bomb in her suitcase. So that when they inquire questions, and you shouldn't be uncomfortable or intimidated by the questions. They're doing their job. They're looking for someone who might be suspicious, like you, Andrew, because you visited Iran 10 years ago, or they might be looking for somebody who has a friend who wants something bad to happen.
Mm. Yeah, again, it's not an issue for me, and it's not something I would be worried about or concerned about. Again, I just wanted to clarify some of the
Yeah.
protocols. That's all.
Because the protocol is to be honest and understanding of, unfortunately, the security nature of getting on a plane to come to Israel and arriving in
Yeah.
Israel and what that's about.
No, no, I went through. Obviously, it's not similar, but being Irish from Northern Ireland, we during our time, we were subject to all sorts of search and questions, etc., etc. That's why, again, as I say, it's nothing that would worry me or concern me.
Sure. Thank you for that. Any other questions? We're going to keep, this is a dialogue, the same way we are becoming a family, we are a family, we're becoming a family. This is a dialogue. We're speaking on the 13th of June, July, August, September, October. We've got just over 4 months until you'll be arriving. We do want to encourage you to go ahead and make that deposit. We will be clarifying what the dates are by which, because again, we don't want, if something happens and there has to be a cancellation, Marzi and I are still going to pick olives here. It doesn't matter. I feel Eric will
Yeah.
probably come no matter what. Uh, but but if there's a reason that you can't make it, the last thing that we want to have happen is that you're not only disappointed but out of pocket any money. So we're gonna put that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. Um, Feel free to use our email for further questions. We certainly want you to. I'll send this video out shortly under separate cover by email. Do feel free to share it. Bring to the extent that Marcella, you've already invited Ingrid, and Eric, you came because of the Stewarts, and who else? I don't remember who else. Well, Chloe, we met last year in Dallas. Um, just by coincidence, and Rebecca, of course, that we've known each other and you know about this program for a while. Share it and bring people who you want to do this with. And the same way, by the way, Rebecca has invited Marlene. So amazing. We're already seeing that dynamic happen, and we have a lot of work to do on this end. But the program will be remarkable. I'm excited to have all of you and anyone else who's joining us in this new phase of going to the Galilee. And we have many other things coming with Root and Branch, some of which we'll discuss with Brandon offline, because we're going to do one of our next Root and Branch Unity conferences. If anyone has friends in the Seattle area, Marzi and I are being hosted there to do a Root and Branch Unity conference next month. And yeah, Marzi, any you get the first word, you get the last word.
No, thank you everyone for joining us. As Jonathan mentioned, this is going to be amazing and unforgettable trip for each one of you who are joining us. I can promise that you will have a lot of activities, funs, and it's like became like a family, getting to know each other and doing amazing things together. And I just wanted to thank each one of you for your passion, for your willingness to join this project, and for supporting Israel. This is what all Christians must do, either through Root and Branch or different ways. That's the timing that we all need to be united and stand together and support Israel, especially at this critical time that the country is suffering because of the war. I see that many people lost their jobs because of the situation of the war. Those who had restaurants do not have enough customers. And that's one way that we can help the economy and people in Israel.
Okay, everybody. Thank you. God bless you. We'll be in
Thank
touch.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God
Thank you
bless you
very
all.
much. Yep.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.